Previously, we witnessed a tragic and terrifying event surrounding the death of 15-year-old Isabelle Greer during a secret exorcism led by Father Thomas Bell. A young life lost, a family broken, and a priest who vanished. But what happens when the dead don't stay buried? When something dark lingers? Tonight, we return to Pine Hollow Lane. And what happens next will haunt more than just the Greer family. The Greer home, a modest one-story house tucked beneath the shadow of old pine trees, had grown disturbingly quiet. But it wasn't the kind of quiet that brings peace. It was too quiet. No bird songs. No creaks from the settling floorboards. Even the wind seemed to avoid that house. Ruth Greer sat at the kitchen table, her hands clenched around a lukewarm mug of coffee. Isabelle's photo still rested near the center. She hadn't moved it, couldn't. Her daughter's eyes stared back with innocence that now felt impossibly distant. 10-year-old Caleb hadn't spoken since the funeral. He just sat on the stairs, hugging his stuffed bear and staring at the hallway where Isabelle's room remained shut tight. Every night, he whispered to his mother that Isabelle was talking to him. And every night, Ruth chalked it up to trauma, until the morning she heard it too. It started with a hum, a low, soft lullaby. One Ruth used to sing to Isabelle when she was a toddler. It came from a hallway near Isabelle's room. She froze. The hairs on her arms stood upright. Slowly, she approached the bedroom door. It was still locked, but there, on the wall outside the room, carved in faint, jagged letters with something sharp. She's still here. Detective Rachel Vance hadn't been able to sleep, not since Isabelle's case crossed her desk. The coroner's report listed cardiac arrest due to psychological trauma. But Vance had seen a lot in 19 years. That girl's face in the morgue told a different story, one of terror, prolonged, personal. Vance tried to reopen the case officially. She was told to let it go. The church is handling it. No signs of criminal intent. It's a religious matter. But Vance had learned long ago, when institutions start whispering, something worse is being hidden. She took an unofficial trip to Bellwood Church, only to find its doors chained shut. The building had been abandoned days after Isabelle's death. The local bishop had released a statement. The church grieves with the family and will cooperate fully. But no one had seen Father Bell since the funeral. Taped to the front door was a stack of papers. One caught her eye, a stained envelope with no stamp, addressed in trembling handwriting. To whoever finds this, she's not at peace. I failed her, and now something is following me. Thomas Bell quoted. Matthew Greer jolted awake to the sound of footsteps. Heavy, slow, coming from the hallway. He reached for the bat he kept under the bed. Ruth was already sitting up, wide-eyed. Is that Caleb? She whispered. They stepped into the hallway. Caleb's bedroom door was open. The boy was standing in the middle of the room, eyes wide, staring at the wall. When Matthew approached him gently, Caleb spoke in a hoarse whisper. She's cold. She wants me to come with her. Matthew dropped the bat. Ruth screamed, because on the wall behind Caleb, written in a child's handwriting, was a phrase neither parent could explain. You left me to burn. Detective Vance wasn't ready to let this go. With help from a sympathetic custodian, she entered the church late at night, flashlight in hand. The stone steps to the basement were colder than she remembered. The flickering candles from the ritual had long since been removed, but their shadows still clung to the walls. The cross Father Bell had held was still on the floor, bent, blackened at the base. Then she saw it, a handprint, charred into the concrete, too small to be Isabelle's. It was from someone younger, smaller, and etched above it in what looked like soot. I didn't ask for this. Back at the Greer home, Ruth finally went through Isabelle's belongings. Inside a hidden compartment beneath Isabelle's bed, Ruth found a small red notebook. It was a diary, but it didn't read like a child's. One of the final entries chilled her to the core. The voice at night says his name is Eshma. It says, I'm already dead, but I'm still here. It tells me I'm just a skin now. Other pages describe dreams of fire, black eyes watching from closets, and a cold presence alive beside her at night. Ruth slammed the diary shut. Her hands trembled as she held it. Whatever happened to Isabelle, start that night in the basement. It started long before. A voicemail appeared on Detective Vance's burner phone. It was Father Bell. "I'm in a motel outside Riverton. I won't last much longer. It sits with me. You think it was about saving her. It wasn't. It was never just her. No number. No trace." But a Google search led Vance to a roadside motel 200 miles west. She drove straight through the night. When she arrived, the manager said the priest had left the room 3 hours ago, but he left behind his belongings. Inside the room, she found a suitcase, open and half-packed, Bible pages torn and scattered across the floor, a crucifix nailed into the ceiling, and a mirror covered in newspaper. On the mirror, scrawled in red ink, "I moved it, but it's moving again." Caleb no longer recognized his mother. He would stare at Ruth with confusion, sometimes hatred. At night, she would find him sitting in the hallway, eyes unfocused, whispering in Latin. Matthew insisted they take him to a doctor, a psychiatrist, something, but no one would see them. The name Greer had become a curse in town. That week, 3 people who attended Isabelle's exorcism developed strange symptoms, night terrors, self-inflicted wounds. One man, Ruth's cousin, was found trying to gouge out his own eyes in the church parking lot. All 3 said the same thing. "She showed me what she sees." Digging through the diocesan archives, Vance found 3 sealed files marked confidential ritual failures. Each one described a girl between 13 and 16. Each case involved Father Bell. Each girl died within 48 hours of an exorcism, and in every instance, bizarre activity plagued their family afterward, eventually leading to multiple unexplained deaths. One file had a note in the margin, dated 2012. "They don't possess the girl. They wear her like clothes." Another simply read, "Burn everything. Salt the ground." At the Greer home, Ruth finally listened to the last voicemail Isabelle ever left. It had been automatically deleted, but Ruth recovered it through her carrier. The message was garbled, panicked. Isabelle was whispering, "Mom, if you get this, don't let it touch Caleb. Don't let Father Bell finish the ritual. It's not leaving me. It's looking for someone new. I think it found him." The message ended with Isabelle screaming. Then a voice, low and inhuman, whispered something Ruth couldn't understand. But when she replayed it, her blood ran cold, because Caleb repeated the exact same words in his sleep that night. Caleb began drawing symbols on his walls. Strange, almost ancient markings. He refused to eat, would sit for hours in the dark. One evening, Matthew found their son standing on top of the dining table, arms outstretched, whispering Isabelle's name backwards. That night, Ruth dreamt she was in the basement again. Isabelle stood before her, her face pale, her eyes black, but it wasn't Isabelle's voice. It said, "Your blood opens a door. The boy is the key." When Ruth woke up, Kayla was gone. Vance returned to the Greer home just before dawn. The front door was wide open. Inside, the lights flickered uncontrollably. Matthew lay unconscious near the stairs. Ruth was in the kitchen, blood on her hands, sobbing uncontrollably. "Caleb's gone," she said. He said she called him. Then Ruth handed Vance a folded note. It was written in Caleb's handwriting. "I have to go where she went. I'll bring her back." Guided by Isabelle's diary, Ruth and Vance broke into the church one final time. They discovered a hidden door beneath the altar, leading into a tunnel carved from ancient stone. At the end of the passage, a chamber, walls covered in Latin, bones strewn across the floor, candles flickering without fire. And there, standing in the center, was Caleb. He turned slowly. His eyes were completely black. And in Isabelle's voice, he whispered, "It's okay, Mom. I found where she lives now." The child they tried to save is gone. The brother they tried to protect may be lost forever. A detective, a mother, and a mystery buried by the church now reach their final hour. Because whatever wore Isabelle's face now walks in Caleb's skin. And it's not finished yet. In the final part of this true crime story, the secrets behind the exorcism are revealed, and the darkness unleashed by Father Bell makes its final move. Subscribe. Turn on notifications. The ending